Welcome to the Homeschool Mom Chat. I'm Teresa Wiedrick, the certified life coach and homeschool life coach, graduated homeschool mom of 4 kids, who's here to help you shed what's not working so you can enjoy your life and live your homeschool mom life on purpose. So I don't know if you can hear the laundry machine in the background, but one of my kids turned it on, so perfect timing. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, Michelle, lovely to see you. So I have in conversation today a lady named Laurie Hammer. She is a functional nutrition therapist, and her and I had a beautiful conversation, a very real, organic conversation on the Homeschool Mama Self-Care podcast, which was released today. You can find it over on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts. It was a very real, a very honest conversation where we both share moments where we hit a wall in our lives, not just related to homeschooling, but just in life in general, where we had to get real with ourselves primarily, certainly with people around us, but we had to be willing to ask for help and learn the hard life lessons that life teaches us on occasion, and the hard life lessons that actually felt like they were breaking us down in the moment, but actually enabled us to live more purposefully after the fact, be more authentic, be more intentional. So in the podcast episode, I shared my conversation or some of the challenges that I've had around PTSD depression, around postpartum depression. I share about my cancer scare, and Laurie shares about her journey from eating disorders in her, her adult journey. She also shares about her cancer experience as she's homeschooling her kids. And we talk all about surrendering, accepting, letting go of control. And I'm really delighted to have her join us here today. So let's see if I can invite Laurie to have a conversation with us. Hey, Laurie. Laurie, if you're there. Hi.
I'm here. How are you?
I am really well. I can't see you. I can hear you, can't see you.
I'm trying to figure that out because it looks like my video is on.
Can anyone else clarify whether they can? Michelle, are you able to tell me if you can see both of us?
I can't see me either, but when I turn it on, oh, hold on. I think I know what I did.
Hey.
There we go. Told you this was my first time going live on Instagram.
No problem. I mean, the tech issues, I don't know about you, but I have learned about a couple in the last year. Oh, all of a sudden it kicked you out somehow. It said you are unable to join. Let's try that again. Well, hello.
I don't know what happened. All of a sudden it just went away. Sorry about that.
Fun. Yeah. So I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the episode this morning. Probably it's been a busy day.
I did not. No. I'm excited it's going out today, though.
Yeah. I listened to it this morning. It's actually always interesting for me to hear myself have a conversation with somebody else after the fact, which I've been doing for almost like 320 episodes now.
That's
and I can
amazing.
I hear there's moments though that I interrupt or I go, oh, I missed something that she said and I wish I had gone back to it. And so this is why we can have that conversation here. So I'm glad to be doing it with you here today.
Awesome.
Yeah. So were there other conversation points that you recall that you were like, oh, we didn't even go in that direction, but we really should have? Because I know there's a big glaring one, I think, that we had or didn't have, and it was about nutrition.
Right. We didn't get there.
Not really.
We did not get there about nutrition. So we can certainly address the nutrition piece.
Yeah. Well, for those that haven't met you yet, would you introduce yourself, share what does a functional nutrition therapist do? Am I saying that
Yeah.
right?
So Laurie Hammer, a functional nutritional therapist, basically work with mainly women who have anxiety, depression, hormone issues, chronic disease issues, mold, those types of things. And I help them overcome that through nutrition, supplementation. I do a lot of functional lab testing. And I also use amino acid therapy to balance the brain so that everything below the neck can heal better.
And in a nutshell, are you able to share how you came across, this area?
Yeah, I initially was introduced to functional nutrition when I went into an outpatient treatment program for an eating disorder. I was bulimic for, gosh, over a decade of my life. And I discovered that I had celiac disease, I had adrenal issues, chronic fatigue stuff, thyroid issues, and then my brain was severely malnourished from years of binging and purging. And so I learned how to nourish my brain, nourish my body, get to some root cause issues. I've also had a cancer diagnosis, and I was the healthiest person I knew. So I never, ever, ever expected that to be a diagnosis for me. And so that took my health paradigm even deeper. And then, you add family member issues on top of it. And that's why I do what I do, so that us mamas can function well and homeschool and take care of our families.
Yeah, I love the name of your account, the Calm Mom or the
Thank
Calm
you.
Homeschool.
Yeah.
Remind me what the name is for
The
everybody
Calm
else too.
Mom, the Calm Mom community.
Yeah, I really love that. That's a Yeah, that's exactly what we're going for because as homeschool moms, especially in my community, there's so much going on that it just is a lot. And um, when when we neglect our own well-being, so I'm a graduated homeschool mom now, so that's why I said past tense, but when we neglect our well-being, we really aren't giving the best to our kids. And the default setting, I think, for moms is, does a child need me? I need to respond if they do. And of course, I think there is some necessity for that. That's why we're here too. But also, we have to remember that we too are humans and humans have needs.
Yeah, we do forget that we're human.
Yeah.
We just think we can be super mom all the time, which we all strive for that. But we are not Wonder Woman. We don't have flying ability and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we think we can do way more than what we can actually do, and then
Yeah.
we suffer the consequences of that. I know so many homeschool moms that are very, very sick because they poured out everything, because they love their family so much, and we just take all those burdens on our back and we carry them all, and we are not meant to do that.
Yeah. And we can really stress our kids to top it
Oh
off.
my gosh,
Yeah.
yes, we can stress our kids out, and then we're like, oh, homeschooling doesn't work, my kids won't listen to me. And a lot of the times it's because we need to take a step back as moms and look at our own stuff and take care of us first,
Yeah.
and then we can respond appropriately to our kids. We can see them in a different light. We can see them more as Christ sees them. When our brain is balanced and we feel calm and we're nourished ourselves, then everything else just goes better. You get enough sleep, it goes better. I always tell people, just guard your sleep more than anything else. I mean, I want you to have a healthy diet, I want you to drink water, I want your brain to be balanced, but none of that really does a ton of good unless you can actually sleep. And so you and your husband and your family need to figure out how mom can sleep, in order for everything to go okay.
Many moms, not all moms, but many moms struggle with low energy,
Yeah.
anxiety, especially at this time of year. We're moving into spring. People are going outside more. They get more sunlight, more vitamin D. So that's a good thing. But we've been coming through this phase or this stage of the year where there is just more angstiness, anxiety, stress, low energy. And then she's also juggling all the kids. And we're a 24/7 job. This is a 24-hour, 7-day a week shift for until you finish homeschooling. And it's a lot. There's not a lot of breaks, and we tend to not want to take them, even if if we're partnered, our partner will say, okay, it's time. You go have coffee, go do something else. And we still go, yeah, but I should stay. I should still stick around. And so there's a lot going on. I'm wondering what key nutritional shifts we could make that could actually help balance our brains or give back to our brains and increase our energy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I do amino acid therapy. So amino acids, which probably most of the homeschool moms in here have studied in their chemistry classes and their biology classes with their kids, but amino acids make up chains of protein, right? And so we have very specific neurotransmitters in our brain that respond to very specific amino acids. And so we want to nourish our brain with those specific amino acids. So for example, serotonin, that's our sunshine neurotransmitter, right? And so that makes us feel happy. It makes us feel just good inside. We can see things clearer. We can hear things clearer. Our mind is, less foggy. We don't have OCD thoughts. We're not rabbit trailing all over the place, hopping from one thing to another when our serotonin is optimal. So when we can support that specific neurotransmitter pathway, all of a sudden I have women sitting in my office or on Zoom calls, and they say, oh my gosh, the green is greener, the blue is bluer. My brain feels brighter, lighter, calmer. I feel like, I haven't felt this calm in forever. And then think about what that does to how you process things throughout the day, right?
Yeah.
So as we're going through these tough seasons, we really, really need to target the brain, because when you balance the brain first, everything else gets easier to deal with.
It's interesting. I don't think I shared this with you, but one of the very first moments that really shifted me towards a healthy journey myself was Dr. Amen's book, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. You're
Amen.
familiar?
Yeah, definitely.
And so he's introducing something from Katie. What is it? Katie Henry? Harry. Okay, I'm going to say that name. Byron Katie. Katie Henry is actually a girl that my oldest daughter was friends with when she was 6. That is that I my oldest daughter just turned 24. But Byron Katie had asked the 3 questions: what are you thinking, or what are you telling yourself that you believe to be true? Is it true? Are there ways to challenge the narrative that we're believing? And those questions were so simple. Dr. Amen introduced them to me in a live workshop over a decade ago, and that shifted everything in my head, where I actually recognized that just because I think something doesn't mean it's true.
Correct.
Just because I always believed something doesn't mean it's true. That was profound. But he introduced a whole bunch of ideas into my world about brain health. And so you're reinforcing that same concept that what you eat, what you think, but what you eat and what you think really deeply influence your brain, which creates the basis for your entire life experience and how you experience other people.
Yeah, 100%. The Bible tells us, as a man thinks, so is he. So is he, right?
Our
So,
own.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, what kinds of things would you practically tell people? On the podcast, we were talking about ramen being a popular food choice or eating kids' home leftovers.
Right. So, I mean, protein, focus on your protein first. So, even if you're just buying, I don't care if it's canned salmon. If that's easy for you to do in the midst of crazy life, then go ahead and eat canned salmon or canned chicken, or, buy pre-cut, cooked, whatever you need to do. You know what I mean? Those things aren't exactly ideal, but if that will get you more protein, beef sticks, hard-boiled eggs, anything that you can do to increase to like 30 grams of protein per meal. So that's like 2 hamburger patties. Do 2 hamburger patties instead of one, right? Because that's going to help your brain feel better. It's going to help your body feel better. It's going to help your heart feel better. So when we get exhausted, our heart gets exhausted, our adrenals get exhausted. And so protein and getting in enough salt, so salt that protein with a lot of good sea salt. Redmond sea salt is my favorite, or Celtic salt. Go ahead and use those things to give your brain a boost, because protein has a bunch of amino acids, right? And so that's good for us. And salt is like little batteries for the brain. And so they're little spark plugs. So just think of it as a current going through your body, and the salt helps that current to keep going.
Yeah, I like how you said that. That's cool. Yeah, it was an inexpensive way to do it. I've been finding in the last, I think, 3 or 4 months where I started eating a lot more protein at breakfast. And I see the value of that because I'm fuller longer, but also I just don't have the constant need to go in and out of the bread basket as often. And
Right.
it's wild to me. Okay. I'm not anti bread, by the way, to everybody. I love it all. I love cheese. I love milk. I love bread. I love chocolate. I love all the things. But I do find that I feel more satisfied longer and I feel clearer to start the day. And then I'm less likely to snack and eat things that I wish I didn't eat as much of. And so I'm finding, and it's inexpensive. I'm actually eating a lot of black beans.
Nope.
So black beans, an egg, spinach, or asparagus, which apparently is cheaper now that we're buying it from Mexico. But it's like $1.99 a pound. I know that
Wow.
y'all, yeah, I mean, this is Canadian, right? I don't know what your egg prices are. I have chickens, so it's not as big of a concern. But for a dozen eggs, I can pay $7 from the local neighbors. And this is reasonable for where we are. I don't know what
Yeah,
your experience is.
that's pretty reasonable. I mean, if we're doing grocery store prices, but I get my eggs for $5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep. And $7 is not a shocking price for us here. But if you consider
exactly.
how much, you know, for where I live, actually, even an hour away, I can buy groceries for a lot less. So I'm not sure what that's about. We're just more rural, I guess. Um, but I find that eggs, that's not super expensive, but eggs and beans, pretty basic. My husband said, you're eating huevo rancheros every morning, and I'm like, oh, or is it huevo rancheros? Anyway, touche. I hadn't thought about it, but it just feels good. And I think sometimes that's the goal, is to keep looking for the thing that genuinely feels more clear and feels more energizing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's always good to, buy things in bulk if you can. I love the fact that you had beans. Beans are really good, for your body. And when we combine beans with like an animal protein, like eggs or some beef or whatever, it's just good for our body. So I love that you're doing that.
Yeah. So what do you have any suggestions for moms who are eating off their kids' plates at lunchtime?
Well, you need to make yourself your own plate. I mean, you just really do. So, or you need to start feeding your kids a lot more protein and feed them something that you're going to enjoy eating as well so that you get nourished. So, ramen noodles needs to be chucked out. I know it's cheap and inexpensive, but it's just toxic for everybody. So, I would rather you feed eggs every single day or hamburgers and rice and beans instead of going for packaged food. So, and I find when I use like my Instapot, most of my moms love the Instapot or their crock pot. They just make big batches of
Yeah.
stuff. And we're doing, like I said, hamburger, rice, and beans. You're adding in some salsa, things that are just easy to do. You top that with a little bit of, your favorite cheese, and you've got a really good meal for your kids. And it's just high in protein, good fiber, good fat, all that kind of stuff. And everybody will just feel better and focus better.
Did you teach your kids to, I remember you said your 18-year-old daughter is, I don't know if she's still at home,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
did you to cook as well?
Yes, she likes to cook. My son can cook, which his, wife is very thankful for, but she's also a very good cook. She was a homeschool girl too.
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, both my kids know how to cook. I mean, they learned how to cook at an early age. I assigned them a night of the week to cook, and so it was just part of what we did as a
Yeah.
family.
Me too. And it's a great way to not have to cook, actually, because over the course of time,
Exactly.
they learn how to cook. And there's sometimes
And I'm a batch cooker. I don't know about you, but I am a batch cooker, Teresa. So I want to cook so I don't have to, like twice a week so that we can eat on that. And I realize I have a smaller family than a lot of other homeschoolers, so it's easier that way. But I mean, you just double your batch, triple your batch, whatever you're doing. But I have large families that they'll just, put out 3 crock pots and then they eat on that. They have the same lunch all week long, and that is totally fine. Keep it as simple as you need to.
when we were in rural Africa, I remember the first time we were there, someone said something about what they eat, and that they eat, it's a sukuma wiki, rice and beans. So it was like a complete protein, but no meat. And, you know, I said, so like, do they eat that for every meal? And she said, they've eaten this their entire lives. Like, this is what they eat. And and frankly, it's good. The kids actually still miss they miss the greens, the essentially
Oh,
kind of kale sort of thing. But that I can't even imagine having the same food, the entire same meal complement my entire lifetime.
I
And
can't either.
I can't. And yet, truth be told, is I am like super cool with the leftovers, because those are a sign that I don't have to cook today. So I'm like, I bring it. If a child made a meal, I'm in. I will eat whatever you put in front of me. Ironic, because I start out that way in reverse. So I'm curious what you would say about gut health and its contribution to our brain health.
Oh, they're intimately connected, intimately connected. A lot of people say, life and death is in the gut. I would say we have to calm the brain first in order for the gut to heal. So if you're still on overdrive in the brain, you're in that sympathetic mode and you cannot calm down and you can't really sleep well. We really need to focus on the brain first. Otherwise, your gut will never heal. But in that same process, when I do my 90-day Calm Mom program, we start with the brain, but then we're jumping to the gut too. We're doing very basic supplementation so that your body can start digesting your food. And then we've got to, if you have leaky gut, which most people do, because it's just the world that we live in, then we address those types of things. But it's key to overall health. We have to address the brain, and then we address the gut, and then we see what's left over.
Yeah, I hear over the last 20 years, there's a lot of development around that. And people refer to it as the first brain or the second brain,
Second
and it's
brain,
debatable.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they'll actually refer to it, which one is the first brain, which one is the second brain. But certainly what we eat directly influences how we're really receiving the world or perceiving other people. And obviously that is important when we're homeschool parents. We had a conversation, we touched on the conversation about burnout, and burnout is a common thing in the homeschool mom life. I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious how you speak about nutrition and holistic practices in supporting a mom that has been burned out already or is in the space where she feels like she's burning out.
Yeah, absolutely. So first we work on the brain, Teresa. Like we have to go there. So I'm using supplements like GABA, and then we're supporting the serotonin pathway and all those kind of things, so that we can calm everything down so you don't feel so overwhelmed in your brain. And then we do things to support that energy in the body. So we're going to look at the diet. We're going to increase the fats. We're going to increase protein, get out the sugars and the caffeine. So I know a lot of moms run on caffeine because they are so tired. But if we could tweak some of the dietary stuff, balance the brain, then you're not going to be so tired and need to rely on the caffeine so much. And then, we really work towards those adrenal glands. So we have to support those so that they're your stress responder. And it doesn't matter which stress it is, it's chemical, physical, or emotional. It's like you're going all day long, all of a sudden you have a car accident or grandma dies or whatever. Your body cannot determine what stress is priority because it's just all stress. So we have to, mitigate that stress response in your body, and we start with the brain, and then we, go to other things in the body that we can calm that stress response down so you get your energy back.
I really noticed two thoughts that magnesium, when I take magnesium, I noticeably decrease my dark chocolate consumption. Like it's direct for me. It's
Oh
weird.
yeah.
The first
Yeah,
few times,
magnesium is good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it really is. I mean, I can't consistently have it because it affects the gut. So every night is too much for me. But if I'm not having it on a regular basis, I start eating more dark chocolate. It's like a direct link. And then the other thing is that there's certain sleep supplements that have GABA and a variety of other things, but that actually really do help you sleep a lot deeper. And there's real value in sleeping deeper. If you don't have really little kids that you have to wake up for, then I find these actually help me feel a lot clearer in the morning.
Oh, absolutely. And a good magnesium out there is bio-optimizers. So it doesn't create loose stools and stuff for people. So I always recommend that one. So you can find that on Amazon. I would go right to their website because Amazon's a little sketchy with supplements, but um, a good theanine supplement can be helpful. A good GABA supplement for sleep is really good. And don't be afraid to use melatonin. Melatonin is amazing for the body, and it doesn't shut down your own melatonin production. It's also a hormone and an antioxidant. So it's used in lots of cancer treatments. Sometimes I'll have people up to 400 milligrams of melatonin as we're trying to reset their system. So don't be afraid of melatonin. Don't believe all the, negative stuff out there about it.
So when we first had this conversation today, you were sharing that there was also transition for you, and I'm kind of shifting gears a bit, but I want to address something that I see quite frequently when I'm coaching women. That you said there's relational shifts that happen. So it's not just about addressing your brain health, eating things that are, more nutritive, but also more energizing for your brain. But it's also about your relationships and how your relationships shift. Did you want to speak to that? Because I noticed that healing involves boundary bolstering and also getting more, essentially building more satisfying relationships with other people.
Absolutely. I mean, once your brain is balanced, you see things a lot more clearly, right? So you're looking at people a little bit more objectively. You can overlook some flaws and you can go, "Ooh, I just really don't want to be part of that relationship anymore." So you're able to set more boundaries because your brain is calmer and
Mhm.
it can think more clearly. So those boundaries are easier to define
Yeah.
with people. It's easier to say no to things. You know, you don't have 27 things being thrown at you, and all of a sudden you're like, even if it's a good thing, I cannot tell you how many things I've said no to, you know,
Yeah.
at church or in the community, just because it didn't fit my family. It doesn't fit the agenda or the mission that God has put me on right now. So it might be good, but it's okay to say no. And so it gives us a deeper ability to say those things where then you can actually stop and breathe. Um, you look at your kids differently. You have a different relationship with them because you're not as reactive, you're more proactive, and you're looking for ways to bless them instead of just reacting to whatever situation happens. And so I have lots of husbands that have told me over the years, like, what you have done to help my wife has saved our marriage. Like, she's just calmer. I'm not as reactive to her because she's not reactive to me. I mean, it's just this whole ripple effect that's just, it's beautiful, and it just glorifies God in the whole process.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Do you have any practical things that you would say to do, like first steps when somebody has a sense they're not clear, but they have a sense that there's boundary challenges?
Yeah, well, I mean, because I'm always going to go back to what I do, like amino acid therapy. So I really think people need to focus on nourishing their brain first. Otherwise, it's really hard to do those practical things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, but we'll use a mom, for example. You know, I had a mom that overstepped boundaries all the time. But when my brain was balanced and I felt really good and I was driven by the Holy Spirit and, you know, knew exactly what God was telling me to do, I could say, you know, we're not going to come today. We're not going to do these things today. And I still love you. But you can say those things in love. But even with your husband and your kids, instead of reacting to them, I teach my moms to just go into the bathroom for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, shut the door, lock it if you have to, so nobody comes in. Even if they're knocking, don't open it. But just sit there and breathe and just ask God, you know, for strength to get through the next few minutes, and take a minute to calm your brain. Take a minute to refocus what really needs to happen in your home or how you're going to react to the kids. It's okay to walk away and give yourself a moment before you respond to anybody,
Mhm.
whether it's a decision or a child's having a fit or, you know, your husband's asking for things or whatever it might be. You just go take a break. And if you can't take a break in that moment, then, you know, try to work those breaks into your day so that you're refreshed and you can go for the next 4 hours and then take another break. It's kind of like at work, you know, they make you take a break every 4 hours. That's a really good thing. Um, Try to do that at home. Set your phone alarm. We're so attached to our phones. Set an alarm. And, you know, when your alarm goes off, your kids will be like, Mom, go take a break. You know, you can train them via your alarm to give you space, and they will actually respect you for that, and then they kind of incorporate that into their own life as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, that's how I direct people as well. As I suggest 11 a.m. every day, but that's because of my own internal challenges. By Monday morning at 11 a.m., when everything wasn't lining up that I wanted, that was my meltdown time. So I still to this day have, even though my kids are almost entirely grown, I still have an alarm that tells me at 11 a.m. to check in with myself, see how I'm feeling, and like literally how I'm feeling in my body, and ask myself to breathe 3 slow, long, deep breaths. Ask myself what my thoughts are and are they true? What's the challenges going on in here? And so I'm checking in with myself every day. But the thing when you were speaking to taking a pause, I this is something that my husband and I learned. So I would say that the primary relationship bolstering understanding growth that I've had around relationships is primarily with my husband. Always the most important people in your lives, the ones that
Yeah.
you're connected to. And so we learned to use the well, we use a lot of different resources, but there is a resource called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, and he is actually a peace negotiator in the Middle East. But he was speaking to pausing, and we need to first check in with ourselves and see how we're feeling. So we actually learned to do that over the course of quite a long time. And we had to learn how to put a pause, because when we are in a reactive space, there is no rationalizing with someone. Like the words calm down should just be like extricated from the English
Right.
vocabulary. They are irrelevant and will never, under any circumstances, work. If someone is not calm, they will not calm down. But we can step aside, like you said, or find a quiet place, or just leave altogether. Let somebody know respectfully that we need to leave, and then say, I need a pause until you can get back into a calm place, because that part of your brain is sort of like it's on fire. It's not going to use the other part of your brain that actually wants to logically think through what's the best next choice of words, or how should I explain myself, or try to be understood. So yeah, I'm with you in the we need to take a pause. Sometimes we just pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, that element of relationships has a big impact on our brains. And when we feel supported and connected, we're more likely to allow ourselves to, well, frankly, just to feel more centered or more at peace, calm. Yeah.
Yeah, we just feel safer in the relationship. We feel like we can contribute at a deeper level that way. So we just seems so simple, right? Just take a pause. But it is more challenging than,
It is.
until you practice it. It's like a muscle. It just builds over time.
Yeah, exactly. And so the same thing happens with our kids now is, okay, I need a break. First, I need to pause. First, I need to take a break. But mom, this thing needs to be dealt with right now. Yes, except that I need to take a break because I know I'm not going to make the best choice. Or if you continue to go down this path, I can just feel my intensity here. This
Yeah,
is not going anywhere. I need to take a break. But my kids aren't little. So for any moms that are like, this will not work with my 5-year-old, I get it.
I
I've been
get it.
there. It just,
That's why there's nap time. That's why there's quiet time.
yes,
So that everybody gets, that space. That's why there's early bedtime. I mean, I can't overemphasize the importance of letting your kids sleep for 10, maybe even 12 hours. I mean, some kids actually need that much sleep, and you will have a much better adjusted child if you just get them to bed early and just let them sleep as long as they need to. Don't worry about getting them up at 8 o'clock. If they need to sleep till 9, let them sleep till 9. You know what I mean? Um, they still need that for the development.
that's
So
right.
I would encourage all the mamas out here, just let your kids sleep, and then when they wake up, then start your day. It's completely fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's the privilege of homeschooling is that they can sleep as long as
Yeah.
they want. Yeah. Yeah. So if there is a mom that is presently listening and she is feeling stressed and anxious and maybe has some health struggles in, so many so many possible ways, what would you offer as a small actionable step for her to start feeling better?
Um, well, I would just really focus on her sleep. If you have specific questions, just send me a DM. I would love to chat with you and help you walk through some of these things. But the first thing we always work on is, sleep and then getting in enough protein. Those are just basic things that you can do. And just take that break. But I'm happy to chat with anybody who has any questions. Just let me know because balancing the brain is key in all of this. I want to give people as many free tools as possible, but there does come a point where we really need to target those neurotransmitters for you so that everything just gets easier and you're not white knuckling yourself through every single day.
No, that's a good way to put that. White knuckling, yeah. I like how you're focusing on the physical elements of it. I tend to focus on, well, you're essentially speaking about how do you want to live a purposeful life? How do you want to really show up in your life
Mhm.
intentionally? That is what I do as a certified life coach. And yet I'm focusing more on the elements of agency, a sense of are you able to do the thing that you want to do? And what's keeping you from doing that? Because whether you come at it from your angle or the one that I'm speaking to, they're all relevant to this conversation. But if you're not addressing the challenges that you might have heard in this conversation, that maybe you're feeling busy and you're not feeling present, or you're feeling scattered, or like you're never doing enough but you're constantly going, or you're listening too often to what other people think about how you should be living your life. I think those challenges there point to maybe something needs to shift.
Yeah.
So depending on how you want to engage it, but I really appreciate what you're saying about addressing the physical body first, because in your experience, to do that first meant that you had the capacity to listen and to actually learn to reframe things. That's what I heard you share on the podcast. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Because then we just think different. We can see things a little bit more clearly, and then all the stuff that you're teaching
Mm,
just makes more sense and it's
yeah.
more doable.
Yeah.
When your brain is balanced, right? So if your brain is balanced, then you can make those changes that need to be changed, and shift your agency around and all those kind of things.
Yeah. So beautiful. Thank you for chatting with me today.
Oh my
And
goodness! Thank you so much for asking.
yeah, I love to do this. And I'm always here in the Homeschool Mom Chat, 1 p.m. Pacific each Tuesday. And then the recording will go to YouTube, to my Homeschool Mom Wellness and Mindset channel by the end of the day, typically. But where can everybody find you besides
Yeah,
right
on
on Instagram?
Instagram, I'm the Calm Mom Community. So you can find me there on and Facebook, the Calm Mom Community, or you can find me on YouTube. Take Back My Brain is my podcast. So I would love to connect with all of you. Thank you.
So lovely to have you here. And thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.